I'm Maggie.
And I'm Kate.
And this is our show, Honestly Though, with Maggie and Kate.
You're listening to Season 1, where we're having more of the honest conversations that you won't find in corporate American settings or among polite company.
Every Wednesday for the next 10 weeks, we'll talk openly about common experiences that affect people at work and in life, but aren't usually talked about in business as usual environments.
You won't find a highly polished show in Season 1, but we can promise that you're getting the raw and honest perspective of two solopreneurs who outgrew the status quo and are committed to thriving in this next season.
And the most important part is we're not really interested in talking at you. We want to talk with you. So you can join the conversation in the comments or send us a conversation starter for a future episode. And you can find all the ways to get involved in the show notes.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay, well, if we're starting with introductions, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go.
Okay. Scary. Hello, world. I am Maggie. I am a burnout coach is what I'm currently calling myself, but Kate and I were just talking beforehand about how we are both in this messy middle of our career pivots, and there's a very good chance that depending on where and when you are listening to this, we are not still doing the things that we are currently doing. But for now, I am a burnout coach. I work with people who are kind of miserable in their jobs and want to change their career, or miserable at their place of work but love their career and want to figure out how to make it work or find a new company, kind of all over the place. But if you hate your job for any reason, I'm your gal.
Awesome. And I am Kate. I'm a professional marketer by trade, been in marketing for, 15 years, started in 2010. But these days I am a writer and a storyteller first and foremost. I love engaging communities, interacting with communities, building communities, bringing people together through words and writing. And I love helping people get to know their own stories better and communicate their stories on whatever channel or in whatever way that is best to connect with their audience. So yeah, that's me.
Love it.
Yeah.
So why did we start this podcast?
Why did we start this podcast? No, I'm just kidding. I think it's fun because we were talking about starting this we were kind of like circling the idea of starting a podcast for a while. And then it just finally felt like the right time to dive in. So I don't know, from your perspective, like, what do you hope that people take away from listening to this?
Biggest thing, I'm hoping people get to know us better and we get to also get to know other people better, because I have no idea who's going to be listening, but I imagine at first it'll be those that we already kind of know, and then obviously we hope it will sprinkle into further and more people. But I think I'm most interested in that, like getting to really show up. Like, I think something else that's worth mentioning is, like, I really did not want to have a podcast for for the past year. Everybody's been telling me I should try to get on people's podcasts or start my own or blah, blah, blah. And I just was like very resistant. So when Kate brought it up to me, I was like, okay, on the condition that I had a lot of conditions, because I don't know what my resistance is, but there's just something in me that's like, everyone's doing it and therefore I don't want to. Like, I'm like that, where like a trend will happen and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, and I'll wait until it's completely dead and then I'll be like, I'm doing that trend from, and so that's me.
Yeah.
But I think what kind of like talked me into doing it was, okay, this is a chance for me to really show up a little more unfiltered, be myself. And every time Kate and I talk, I feel like we just have great conversations. I feel like I always learn about myself, about the world, and just like, I don't know. So I guess all that too, sharing that with the audience and letting other people's thoughts and perspectives change as they are listening and maybe arguing with us in their heads.
Yeah, I love everything you just said there. It's funny. I just heard myself say, yeah. And I almost said, that's awesome. I used to do a podcast. Like, I had a podcast when I traveled full time. We were living in state national parks, and I did a podcast about different national monuments, some that already
Mhm.
exist and some that were at risk of no longer existing, and some that were like on the cusp of maybe existing if they got approval. And I would interview guests and people that like worked at the national monuments and whatever. And anytime, as I was like always going through my editing process, I realized that I would always say, "Yeah, that's awesome." And my husband was like, "Everything that everyone says to you, you're like, that's awesome." And I'm like, "Okay." So, anyways, I
It
just
was
almost
awesome.
was you are awesome, and everything you just said was awesome. So, anyways, but yeah, I feel like I too have been circling the idea of doing a podcast for a long time and thinking like, wow, like I'm a writer, but I also like to communicate verbally. And the reason why I never started a podcast over the last year is because I just like don't want to listen to myself talk. Like I
Mm,
like having conversations. And so when you were like, I've been thinking about starting a podcast, but I really don't want to do these certain pieces. I'm like, well, I like doing those certain pieces and I like talking to you. And that sounds way more fun than just listening to me. So,
yeah.
um, so yeah. And I feel like for me, I really hope that people see parts and pieces of themselves in what we're talking about and think about things in a new way. I know I spent a really long time throughout my career feeling stuck, feeling like I was just in a muddy pit. I actually always explained it as to my friends of I feel like I'm on the runway in an airplane, but I'm just like spinning my wheels and I just can't actually like get up into the air. And I've been saying those words since like 2020. And the way I got out of it and got to a place where I finally feel like I'm in the air, and maybe not at the 40,000 feet or whatever that I want to be at for cruise altitude or whatever, but I'm certainly in the air by now. The way I did that is by talking to people and seeing pieces of myself in their stories and how they've navigated the world and being like, oh, I've never thought about my situation like that. So I think that's the power of story. And I think that you and I have both navigated some tricky stuff that a lot of people are thinking about navigating. And we each did it in our own way. And we're not afraid to talk about it. And I feel like
Yeah.
that is good and helpful. At least I hope it is. And I hope that people just see themselves. And also I hope that people push back when they hear me or you or what any guest we bring on this podcast ever say something and they're like, I don't like that. Well, I hope they say that. I hope they say that in the comments or whatever it is, and say, hey, have you thought about this? Because for me, having conversations and getting all those different perspectives is how I learn and grow. So
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think
want
that's
to,
what I was getting at, is, like,
yeah.
I hesitate, this is probably just imposter syndrome, but, like, I hesitate to see myself as an expert in anything, so even if I come on
Mhm.
here and I speak with authority and I'm very
Yeah.
confident in what I know, I also would love if somebody corrected me if I'm wrong or gave me a
Uh-huh.
new perspective or asked me a
Uh-huh.
hard question because,
Mhm. Mhm.
of like, it helps me, I guess, stay realistic. Like, I'm
Yeah.
never gonna assume I know everything about anything, even though I do know that I can come off that way sometimes.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and
I,
your point too about, like, verbal, like, I'm such a verbal processor, and I feel like that maybe was part of my hesitation too, was I tend to word vomit, and then I'll go back
mhm.
and listen and be like, "Oh, I know what I meant," and I can pick out the things
Sure.
and turn that into writing. But
Yeah.
there are gonna be times where people are listening to this, and they're gonna be like, "That was, like, insane," or, like, totally, like, I don't
Uh-huh.
know. It
Yeah.
might not always come off the way I want it to, and that was one of my hesitations as well, is I don't wanna be misunderstood and have to over explain myself,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's gonna happen, so
Yeah. Yeah.
call
I
me
think
out.
that one of the things you just said, I am constantly perceived as this very confident, very strong willed, extremely smart person. And like, that is not, I'm confident in my beliefs. Like, I do have a strong perspective. I spend a lot of time thinking about the things that I talk about, and I do have a strong perspective, but I fundamentally get really nervous anytime anyone is like, but you're just so smart and you know everything. And I'm like, please never say that to me again, because no, I don't. So I love it when people say, when they ask me questions and they make me think about things in a new way. So I love that you talked about that because I'm perceived that way too. And I think two people like us on a podcast like this who aren't afraid to say it like it is, it's good to call out in the upfront, like, hey, just because we're, opinionated and have strong beliefs and think deeply about this doesn't mean we think that we know it all.
Yeah,
Um,
basically, we're not attached to our point of view.
yes,
Like, I will
100%.
come in hot with my point of view, but if somebody points
Yes.
something out, I am receptive
Yeah.
to
Uh-huh.
reframing how I think about
Yeah.
something, depending,
Totally.
obviously. There are some topics I'm hard set, you're not gonna change me, like, feminism
100%.
is for an example, like, you're never gonna make me not a man hater, but not a man hater, but, not a
We love the right men.
we're skeptical of all men until proven non. No, I'm
Sure.
shitty.
Yeah. I feel that. Yeah.
At
I
least
feel
that's
that.
just one example of, like, there's enough life experience I already have that, yeah, I know plenty
Yeah.
of good men. That's fine.
Yeah,
Anyway,
totally.
ramble.
Shout out to Neil and Mitch.
Yeah,
I
right?
feels, but Mitch will be highly uncomfortable that his name wasn't mentioned in a sentence, and that's okay. Hi, Mitch.
You probably won't listen.
Um, anyways, so okay, and then like, what do we hope of getting out of like collaborating, and creating? Like, two for me, like you're just fun. Like, I just like hanging out with you. This to me is an opportunity to play and create, and just like have fun and shoot the shit and just be real. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that was what drew me was like, okay, I already do like talking to you, so sure, let's hit record and see what comes out of it. Like that was
Yeah.
easy. But
Yeah.
I feel like I talk about this a lot in my content too lately, but like I really do feel like every time we talk, I come out of the conversation with like something to dive deeper into, whether I'm gonna go journal about something we just touched on, or
Yes.
maybe we do get really deep into something and it's just lingering in my head. Like
Mhm.
I always feel like I come out very thoughtful and, like,
Same.
that, leads to growth, so that's
Agree.
that's my biggest win in getting to collaborate is, like, I'm selfishly gonna grow a lot, and I know that through this experience. Even if
Yeah.
we never end up publishing anything, I know just our conversations are enough that, like,
Yeah.
everything else is a bonus for me.
Yeah. Same. I love that we both have this, like, even if we never end up publishing anything, we're publishing it.
We
You're off.
will, but
Um,
I'm in the mindset of, like, the world right now especially is saturated with podcasts, like, every single person and their mama has a podcast, and I know that, and that was also part of the, like, "I don't need to, because who's gonna listen to it?" So
sure.
I have to go into it with, like, expect the worst, hope for the best,
Uh-huh.
because I don't wanna go in like, "This is gonna be so great, I'm pouring my heart and soul into it, I'm
Yeah.
excited," because if literally no one listens to it, that will hurt. But if I
Mhm.
go into it like, "This is just recording conversations and it's casual," then
Yeah.
literally everything else is a bonus, and I will not let it get to my self-esteem in the end where I feel
Right.
like a failure because I don't know. It's not like
There's
we're
no
not gonna
fail.
promote it, but part of me's like, "You know this." Part of me's like, "No one literally cares about anything I have to say." Like, there is there's that voice in my head that's like, "Literally no one cares," and that's gonna be there for this entire recording.
I know that feeling very well. I feel that too.
Unfortunate.
And no to that voice. No. But yes,
It's
I
the
hear it.
cop inside my head.
Yeah, totally. So, okay, so let's switch gears then into like how because we talked about who we are, what we do. We talked about what we envision for this podcast. And then I just want to go a little bit deeper into like how we actually do the work that we do. And one concept that we have talked about a lot over the last few weeks is this idea of coaching versus therapy. Because, for a while I was describing my work as a coach, but I'm not a certified coach. I have no coaching training. The only coaching I've ever done is coach my sister's like seventh grade basketball team when I was like 15 or something. So, you know, no, I'm not a coach. And I'm also not a therapist, even though I go to therapy and my writing is a form of therapy for me. I feel like as a storyteller, story and writing and creative expression, like for me, I learn about how I process the world and what my experience with the world and with other people is through the process of writing. And sometimes that feels really therapeutic. And I do think story is therapeutic. But also that's like for me, like what I'm not in this podcast is not therapy. And so yeah, anyway, let's just talk about that. Coaching versus therapy. How do you feel about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just quickly add to that of like, even if we both were therapists, like actually licensed,
Yeah.
this still wouldn't be therapy because I see on social
Right.
all the time, like, I'm a therapist, I'm not your therapist. And even if I
Yes.
am your therapist, this
Right.
is social media. We are not in
Yes.
session.
Good
So
point.
that is something that sticks with me too, is like,
Yes.
even if one of my clients was listening to this, we're not in a coaching session. So I
Yes.
am in this moment right here, right now, I'm not your coach. I am Maggie, a podcast.
Uh-huh.
like,
Yes. Yes.
um, so for me, really, that is, I just pulled up this document from my coaching program that I might reference as we chat too, but
Yeah.
essentially that is to me, like, trying to think of how to like phrase it. Like, I think there's a lot of overlap in the conversations you can have in coaching and in therapy. The difference is kind of the expectation of the like authority figure. I'm not really an authority, like, but
Uh-huh.
if I'm in a coaching conversation, I would never expect to be like, "Oh, let's dive in and give me tools for this thing." And like, I think in therapy you expect a little more, I don't know, like hand holding in that emotional space per se. And
Mhm.
it's hard for me because I feel like it's not to say that you don't do those things in therapy. It's just the topic,
Sure.
or in coaching, it's the topic of conversation that I think differs. Where
Mm.
for me,
Okay.
I describe it as like, as a coach, I am focused on your now and your future.
Mhm.
We may touch on your past, but we are focused
Mm.
on now and your future. Versus in therapy, I think they're more focused on your now and your past, and you
Mm.
may talk
Mm.
about the future. So
Sure.
it's the past
And
versus future thing for the most part.
uh-huh.
Um, the thing I was gonna reference from my class was, we got this really cute bike analogy that honestly, if you Google it, it's everywhere. This isn't like the program made it up, so I feel comfortable sharing it. But essentially, if you were going to decide that you wanted to ride a bike, a
Uh-huh.
therapist is going to help you address the fear you had that prevents you from getting on the bike.
Mm.
Versus a coach is going to help you once you already know you're going to get on the bike, will run beside you, remind you of where you
Mm.
want it to go, and like when you get to that fork in the road, we can help you figure out which way you want to go. But
Yeah.
essentially, you're already on the bike by the time you're working with us. Like,
Yeah.
you're
That
not afraid to get on the bike. I'm not helping you face the fear of doing it. And so kind of what I was saying before with
yeah.
like the burnout coaching, if you're unsure if you even want to leave your job and all that, I may be able to have a couple conversations and help you get clear, but like really the work happens once you've made that choice and you just need the how. It's like, you know where you are and you know where you want to be and you see that big gap. You need
Yeah.
help building that bridge. That's what we do
Yeah.
in coaching.
Yeah, okay, that I've never heard that,
The
analogy
bike
or
is great.
metaphor before, but yeah, that's really, really helpful, and it as I think about the storytelling coaching work that I do, that really, really resonates with me because I work with people who have already gotten to a place where they're starting their own business on their own terms because they want to see a different future. They've already landed there. They're not
Yeah.
still processing all the stuff that made them arrive at that decision. They've arrived at that decision. They know who they are. They know what they're building next. And now they need help understanding how to use their story to build trust and build connection. And I think it's really interesting in the world of work and, the future of work because, at least for me, I'll just speak from my own experience. There are a lot of things I was taught about how to share my lived experience, my perspective, my worldview within corporate that do not serve me as a solopreneur. There are things about my story that I couldn't share. Well, not that I couldn't share, but that I was taught not to share in corporate settings for the aim of cohesiveness. Like that
Do you have
was
an
the
example?
um
It's okay if you don't. I'm just trying to wrap my
well,
mind around, like, what you were trying to share that they were like, "Mm."
yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of it was always Well, so there's a few things. I was talking to Cassie. Cassie is a friend of ours. She studies human design, and she was talking to me about how um, a lot of times when I have really big ideas, when I go to actually like explain them, all the logic falls apart. She explained it as like you can't show your work. And that's true.
Mm.
I have big ideas and then sometimes I go to show my work and I can't. So that's
That
what
makes
this
sense.
question feels like to me. But I mean, I think I would say it this way, which is that like I've always had a really strong attunement to the feelings need like to the exploitation that happens of workers outside of white collar corporate settings due to the work that my husband does, that his family has done um throughout their, decades of history or whatever. And I always tried to bring that in to my work of like we're taught. I feel like so much as marketers, we're talking to decision makers. We're always thinking about the decision maker at the top who's making business decisions. And we tend to focus less on the people that are actually going to implement whatever the decision that is made is. And because I've been so connected to the people that actually implement the decisions that are made, I would try to raise that perspective a lot and like bring that perspective into the conversation. And it was really like, that's nice, but like we're just focused on the decision maker and making a
Yeah,
decision
like, you're
and
being
getting
too inclusive
getting the sale.
almost.
Yeah, like we just got to get the sale closed, and whatever happens next and how they implement this software that we have or whatever, that's on the
They'll
business and
figure it
bring that up
out.
here. And so it was that kind of, it was like that's like the main example that I can think of. And I would try to do that through my own personal experiences and talking about the people that I know and the things I know. And it was like, no, we're just gonna conform. And we just gotta go this way. Um,
Yeah. So you were kinda advocating for the entirety of everyone whose hands are gonna be in the pot you were advocating for, but really
yeah.
they were like, "No, we only care about these people's hands."
Yeah. And like I understand why. And also, I think it's short-sighted.
Yeah.
And like, and that would, and that, and when you say things like that, when you say like, I understand why, but I think that's short-sighted, you tend to get labeled as like arrogant or aggressive or what. And I'm like, I'm not trying.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to like point something out.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
that
I
kind
mean,
of
I know we didn't talk about it in this recording, but I know I've showed you that, area of work model too, and you talking about that reminds me of, like, yes, people like to feel like their voice is heard and they have a sense
yeah,
of control. Even if they don't, you have to give them the illusion that they do. So, like, even if they had just humored you, had that conversation, set up a meeting to hear you out, and been like, "Cool, yeah, we're gonna consider it," you probably would've, even if nothing came of it, you probably would've felt better about the situation than them
yeah,
immediately dismissing you and being like, "No," or,
yeah.
whatever the reaction was. It sounds like
Well, and
I
it
just picture that
wasn't.
model in my head.
Yeah, and like I never got to a decision maker, like executive level position within corporate. I bowed out of the management track before I ever got there. So what it would look like, that doesn't mean I wasn't invited to rooms where the executives were talking. I was.
Yeah,
But it meant that I would go into like a coaching session with my manager before entering into those bigger rooms. And oh, well, that perspective doesn't belong here. That perspective's not important. And it always felt more like people pleasing. And like, it felt like my job as a marketer a lot of times was to learn what the executives and sales and finance and legal and what everyone else wanted to hear rather than doing what I believe as a marketer you should do, which is advocate for your customer,
yeah,
and advocate for the reality of the people that are going to be using your product, not just those decision makers. And so, um, yeah, so but it was not blatant. And I genuinely believe that the people who were asking me to conform and whatever, it was in the name of efficiency, not in the name of like, we don't like you or we don't care about the people that are going to have to implement the thing. It was in the name of efficiency and speed and cohesiveness and conformity, which are all things that corporate America value. Um, and and I think in some ways with the system of how corporate America is, I think those are things that like if you want to compete in the system, the way it is, you kind of need those things today. Like if you don't choose that path, someone else is going to, and they're going to get that quarterly result faster than you. And when we reward for the quarterly result, then you get things like this.
Yeah.
And so, but when I switched into being a solopreneur and doing my own business and focusing on building trust and community with the people that I wanted to serve, I had to unlearn all of that conformity because it does not serve me in trying to stand out in a crowded landscape of consultants and freelancers and people just like me who want to serve people like the people I want to serve. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you do you find it, like, at least in the beginning of when you left corporate and you started the solopreneur thing, did you find it hard to kind of, like, step into a CEO role for yourself? Like, I find myself constantly still seeking, like, not, like, permission, but,
Yeah.
if I build something and I think it's good, I wanna show someone before I go live with it. Like, I want at least one buddy to be like, "Wow, that's great," and it's, like, not like they're my boss, but, there's always
Mhm.
I always had at least a teammate to look over something with me. I used to have my friend at work read emails before I would send them because 'cause I'd be like, "Hey, can you make sure this doesn't, like," not that
Yeah.
it sounded mean, but I'm one of those exclamation point people and, big people pleaser, so I'd be like, "Can you make sure this is direct enough?" Or whatever it was, and
Yeah.
not having that anymore is so I'm getting used to it. It's gotten a lot better in the past year, but, at first, I felt like I couldn't do anything without
Yeah.
asking for a million people for their views and opinions and
Yeah.
please pep talk me so I can do it. I
Yeah.
couldn't be a CEO. And I think also because I hated the idea of corporate so much when I first
Yeah.
quit and did this that it was like, I don't want to be a founder or a CEO. Like I don't want to call myself any of that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so I'm curious like your experience in that transition, like how was it stepping into that executive mindset because you're kind of now every layer of the ladder in your business.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was my biggest challenge the first year, even year and a half of
Yeah.
my solopreneur journey. I've been a freelancer since May of 2024.
Okay.
And I kept asking people, if you go back and look at my content, one of my favorite metaphors in that period when I was struggling with that is I would say, I'm Hamilton looking for my George Washington. I wanted to be somebody's right hand man. I didn't want to be it. I didn't wanna be the, like, decision maker. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was imposter syndrome, like, "Who am I?" But more of it was I'm a collaborative person by nature. That part of corporate America, the competitiveness, the, cutthroatness, the get to the top and whatever, never resonated with me. That is not how I operate. I operate through collaboration. I value diverse perspectives, and it's not that I want consensus, it's that I don't feel comfortable making a good decision unless I feel like I've thoroughly evaluated all of the angles.
Yeah.
So,
Make it a really informed decision.
yeah, so I part of it was like I didn't feel like I had the authority. I felt imposter. Part of it was just I'm a collaborator by nature, so I wanted to make sure I was getting all of the perspectives. And then part of it too is like I just prefer to be behind the scene. Like I don't want to be like a hero figure. I don't wanna like, I just I don't, and I don't think that I'm still struggling with it now. You can hear me doing it right now. Like, but, um, I don't know. I like community. I like
Yeah.
collaborating. I'm not afraid of being a leader, and I'm coming to see myself as a leader just in my authentic expression of who I am. Um, and I just think I have a really different vision of what a leader is than what corporate America taught me it should be. Um, and I'm just learning to have to trust my own gut too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have to make a decision. This is my business. This is my career. No one is going to make a decision for me. Um, and I think the biggest pivot for me that helped me kind of snap out of it or think about it differently, I used to say I need an editor. I need an editor for my ideas. Now I say I need editors. I need
Mm.
it's not that I need one person to give me permission that this is good and to validate that this is good. It's that I want to make sure I have all those perspectives and then I'll make the right decision. So,
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yeah, no, and I definitely relate. I feel like you really nailed it of, like, the whole informed decision. I don't know how that I haven't, like, thought about it in that way before. I always just, like, attributed it for me to, like, imposter syndrome and, like, I'm
Yeah.
just I don't I also in the beginning, I got advice that, like, you are your target audience, so, like, think about you 6 months ago or a year ago, what did you
Mm,
need? That's your target audience. That was, like, early
mhm,
marketing advice I had heard, and that I think was good and bad advice because then I was so in my head about like, well, if I'm building this resource for me 6 months ago, how do I know anyone else is gonna use it and care? Like, if
yeah.
I'm basing everything around my own experience and my own self,
Mhm,
I'm not thinking about others. Like, it was so
uh-huh,
hard. And back then it was like I barely even had a network. So it was like, I don't know
yeah,
how I'm supposed
yeah,
to do any of this. So it was
yeah,
like I think both imposter syndrome, but also I felt like I only had my own perspective and that was
yes,
not enough. And I knew that. And
yeah,
even if my perspective was going to be 85% of what I was building, I was like, I need to hear from people.
huh,
Even if everybody else has the same opinions, it's like perfect. Now I know it will impact others. But
yeah,
like impact matters to me. And I didn't want to only impact my own self and my own life. Like I would like
mhm,
to open up this joyful world to the rest of the world. Like
yeah,
I don't have a good day every day, but I feel like I think people see me as a very happy, bubbly, like kind of gal.
yeah,
So I like that in a way. I think it's like just anybody listening to this, I think it's hilarious. I'm actually like very, very all over the place with my emotions, but I
mhm,
show up very happy because I want other people to find joy. Like that's one of my
yeah,
biggest missions. And
yeah,
like,
mhm,
I don't know, the whole corporate, you can't do any of that. Like, I couldn't if I even wore this colorful cardigan to work, I'd be, like,
mhm,
commented on.
uh-huh,
Like
yeah,
you can't be joy, and I don't know. I
mhm,
as a solopreneur, it is so hard to, like, accept myself as myself, and like you
yeah,
were saying, I'm about a year and a half, not even into this journey for myself too, and I'm like,
mhm,
"Okay, I'm just starting to feel a little more confident
mhm,
being myself," but
yeah,
it
yeah.
corporate really did a doozy on me.
Yeah, I
And
for
many
sure,
others, and,
and many
uh
others. We are not alone, and I think it's really sound as a marketer, I think that is sound advice. I think that it's sound advice for a lot of people, but for people like you and me, I wonder how sound it is. As I'll speak for myself, not for you. For me, I am very in tune with myself. Um, I am not always in tune with others. And I have to work hard to be in tune with others. And so but I think other people have the opposite problem. They're not that in tune with themselves. They haven't done that much introspection, especially in corporate. And so that advice is really good for people like that. But I think for people like us who do a lot of introspection and know ourselves really well, it's important to not just build for ourselves, but also to build for other people who want to find in their own way, their own expression of
yeah,
the lessons and things that we know and have learned in their own framework.
yeah,
Um,
and that's the heart of, like, where I do need other people. Even if
yeah,
I am building the actual basic framework around
yeah,
my own journey, I
mhm,
know that, like, even if I put you through the same, like, questioning that I did, like, my journaling
yeah,
last year,
uh-huh,
I know that you're gonna have different answers even though we are very similar, and, like,
yeah,
there's even other, like there's other factors that come into play that you maybe would expect it to be pretty similar, but, like, I feel like your answers would be totally different, you'd have a
yeah,
totally different path, you're
totally.
a different
Yeah,
person, and
uh-huh,
that's where it gets hard. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about, like, all my little freebie things, like, my very simple PDF things that it's like, how do you make it good enough that people want it, but not, like, overwhelming that it's, like, an entire freaking workbook?
yeah,
But that's always hard because, like, again, I feel like I can only go off my own experience, but I know I'm
yes,
trying to help other people figure out their experience, and
yeah,
finding that
uh-huh,
middle ground is hard, especially when you are in your own head and don't have anybody else to bounce anything off of,
yeah,
and
yeah,
That is one of the other beautiful things about coaching is
Mhm.
during all this too, I was doing reciprocal coaching with a lot of my coach friends. So I did
Mhm.
have sounding boards to like, even if
Yeah.
they weren't going to give me straight answers, because in coaching, you're not supposed to just like tell some, like in coaching, if you came to me and you're like, what should I do about blah, blah, blah? I'm going to dodge that question and I'm going to come back with some questions to help you figure out what you think you should
Sure.
do
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you because I don't know. I
Uh-huh.
can tell you what I might try, but
Yeah.
that was the blessing and the curse of being in so many coaching conversations at that time was like, I need
Yeah.
someone to just tell me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that nobody did because like you were saying, it's all trial and error and figuring out what actually works and is sustainable for you.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the hardest part of solopreneurship is drowning out all the advice that doesn't resonate and doing the
Yes.
things that do and feeling confident that it's okay to do things your own way.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yep. So hard. So, okay, we're about at 34 minutes. So
Yeah, we
I'm
should wrap up.
gonna wrap us up here. This is the kind of like, first of all, we had an agenda, we organized ourselves. It was very nice. And we also, did what we do with every time we talk. I agree with you. Every time we talk, I leave thinking about things in a new way. We did not plan to talk about this last 5 to 10 minutes of stuff, and it was really helpful for me. So thank you for the
Thanks.
good questions. And yeah, this is the kind of stuff that y'all will expect the rest of the season. And thank you all. Look at me assuming all of the people are listening, Maggie. You just told me not to do that, and I'm doing it.
Well,
Let
it's
me.
good to talk like they're lissing.
uh, You are
Just don't get it in
listening,
your head.
everyone. Everyone, I don't know. Okay. Anyways, so this is the kind of awkward sound off you can expect when Kate gives it. The
We'll get
end.
better.
We'll get better.
And I'm just looking, we have a long list of ideas. So if
Yeah.
you guys have any other topics that you would love to hear us yap about,
Yes.
DM either of us, or I don't know where this is going to go up yet. So if there is a comment section, that works. But
Uh-huh.
Um, we have some ideas, but we are always open to more. If you
100%.
love to hear us yap and
And
want
there
to
will
hear us yap about anything specific, let us
Yes,
know.
and there will be in the show notes, I will make sure to put ways that you can get in touch with us and let us know what you
Yeah.
want to hear us yap about. So,
Thanks for listening to Honestly Though with Maggie and Kate. We're being so honest about the fact that we really want you to join the conversation.
drop us a comment, email us a question, or submit a conversation starter for a future episode. You can find out how down in the show notes. See you next week.